Just seeing them grow from the start, confidence growing and their techniques improving, we'd never ever take them somewhere else because he is just perfect.
I have 2 girls at AFAC, and we've been coming since it started at the beginning of 2019. They feel safe, and I think they feel encouraged as well.
I like my teachers, and they always encourage me when I need encouraging, and they make it really fun for me and the rest of my class. I feel very proud and happy and excited to meet my new teacher.
Noah finds motor planning and things like that difficult. You know, he tends to get that same teacher, so they definitely know what works for Noah, what to kind of keep going with, how we can kind of achieve the next thing. So it's really quite consistent and valuable.
It's really good, nice quality time spent with the grandies, and it's a great centre for families as well. She may have got a lot older, but never miss out on the green jelly after the swimming lesson, so that's always a given.
I wouldn't be driving 25 minutes past 2 swim schools to come if I didn't enjoy it.
The kids just enjoy it too much here and love all the teachers, so why move them somewhere else?
to advise that live streaming will commence shortly. Would you all be upstanding for Her Worship, Mayor Ruth Butterfield?
Thanks everyone for your patience. While we got a few things sorted out, I will just like to begin by acknowledging that we meet on the traditional lands of the Whadjuk Noongar people, and I would like to pay my respects and of course our respects to their elders past and present. I'll open the meeting at 7:06 and welcome everybody along. We have a full complement of councillors, so thank you all for being here. We also have a full, almost full complement of executive directors and of course our CEO and exec support. So thank you for being here tonight. Advice of response to previous public questions taken on notice. We don't have any. Public question time. We do have 15 minutes for public questions, if there are any. If you'd like to ask a question, please step up to the microphone, give your name and your suburb, and you can ask a question. Have we got any questions tonight? If you could just, there's a microphone up there.
Good evening. My name is Belinda Pinker and I'm part of the Kelmscott ward, or more likely Heron ward. My question is two parts, and it relates to the special reason for tonight, the area around Kelmscott that is going to be improved. I'd like to ask the question, part A, why was Heron ward not included in this when one of our councillors was the person to actually bring this up? And B, what is going to be done for Heron ward, bearing in mind that the area in question has already been done up twice before in the last 10 years, and Heron has not?
Thank you very much for your question. The report, I think what the part that you're referring to is, and you actually live in Kelmscott, so it refers to Kelmscott. It doesn't refer to a ward. So the space that could be the area which we're talking about is Kelmscott Public Realm. Sorry, this is a time for me to answer. Sorry, we've got pretty strict rules about how we undertake these meetings, and it's a sort of a question answer type thing. And also because we're live streaming, nobody will be able to hear what we're doing if we're back and forthing. So yes, I do acknowledge that the Dr. Willinga did move part of the motion that's on the board tonight, but we are talking about the Kelmscott Public Realm. So I hope that answers your question. So we're not dealing with wards. Are there any further questions from members of the public? If not, no. If not, I will close public question time and we'll get through into applications for leave of absence. And I don't have any with me at the moment, so we'll move on to petitions. Have we got any petitions for presentation tonight? None, no petitions. Confirmation of minutes. Could I ask that someone confirm that the minutes attached to this agenda are a true and correct record of the previous council meeting? Councillor Sargison, you're moving that. Thank you very much. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. Announcements by the person presiding without discussion. Councillors, you have them on your desk and they will be included with the next set of minutes if you're interested in getting those. It was Harmony Week, so there was lots of harmony activities on throughout the city. Private ones, ones held at schools, for example, and our community held various harmony events as well. So I did attend a few of them, and just noting the wonderful performances put on by the Harrisdale Senior High School students, and their performances, and the fact that they were able to dress in their national dress and their cultural attire for the day, and we had community members going into the school and supporting them with that Harmony Week harmony performance, and then I was able to, along with Councillor Thomas, present certificates to the students who had worked so hard on presenting that fantastic performance to the school parents and community. So it was, I think it was the day was open, or that assembly was open to the local community as well, and I know that the school is looking at doing something a lot bigger and better, or not better, but bigger and more out in the public realm, so perhaps going onto the Harrisdale Oval and inviting the community along as well. I'm just going to check about the sound. It could be my microphone. It's not? Oh, it's just in here? Okay, good. We're just going to check the live stream to see whether it's streaming. So we're going to check. Thank you. There we go. A beautiful change to my microphone, and it stopped pinging. So yes, thank you to everyone who participated in. It's going again. It's me. Harmony Day. Wonderful idea to have Harmony Day, and Harmony Week, but we need Harmony Day every day of the year, in my opinion. Because we should be working together and be accepting and tolerant of other people, no matter what they look like or where they're from, etc. So we'll move on and we'll go to questions by members, of which due notice has been given without discussion. There aren't any. We'll move through now to the reports, and we'll go to Development Services first. And Chair, are you prepared to move the receipt of the minutes from the Development Services Committee meeting?
Yes, subject to any corrections, of which I have none.
Thank you very much. Chair has moved. Is there anyone opposed? A bit too keen there. If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. And we move now to the first item, which begins on page 8. And we go all the way through to page 15 for the recommendation. And now we move to page 16, Oh, sorry. I want to read that out, don't I? It's all the pinging is throwing me. So on page 8, we start this agenda item, 1.1, requested access to 43 William Street, Armidale, with the recommendation coming on page 15. Page 16, 1.2, proposed minor amendment to Local Planning Policy number 3.10, Residential Design Code Variations and RMD codes. And the recommendation comes on page 20. Page 21, 2.1, modifications required to proposed amendment to to number 124 to TPS number 4, Kelmscott District Centre Precinct Structure Plan Implementation. Just noting that these changes have been requested by the Minister, and the recommendation comes on page 36. Page 37, 3.1, removal of TPO, Ardross Street, Seville Grove, referral item, with a recommendation on page 38. Councillor Sargison, you've got your light on.
I'd like to make an amendment to that, which I've already put forward. I believe that Sapphire may well have the amendments. If she's typed it up, I don't know. Okay. So I can read what I've written out. It'll only take about a minute, I would think. The concept of quasi-judicial in local government is judicial fairness when assessed against the statutory requirements and subject to basic principles of natural justice by controls available.
Sorry, Councillor, we need a mover and a second.
Right. Sorry, I've got ahead.
Sorry. Councillor, you've moved a change to the recommendation.
Yes.
Do I have a seconder? If we've got that on the screen, so you've got he's seconding? Okay, thank you. And do we have anyone opposed? Thank you. Councillor Sargison, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you. I apologise that I got ahead of myself.
That's okay.
The concept of quasi-judicial in local government is judicial fairness when assessed against statutory requirements and subject to basic principles of natural justice by controls available in administrative law. A reasonable person relies on their own ability to make decisions in good faith without bias or conflict interest while demonstrating complete judicial fairness. One of the things that council must consider is to do no harm. By inference, safety should take precedence in all considerations and evaluations. TPO 16 is located solely on private property, 45 metres tall and 2 metres from the home back door. The onus of burden is unfair. It is placed solely on the owner's occupants. Mental strain, living in fear during storm and aftermath, just imagine the anguish for that. The genus of tree is often referred to as a widowmaker. NCIS, whose task is to maintain records, identified 277 deaths caused by tree failure alone. The main cause of fatalities is storms and strong winds, 68%, saturated soil, severe winds, 18%. Combined weather accounts for 86% of all recorded tree failure deaths. It has a long history of damage to the home, roof, gutters, cars and groundwork pavers. Has a large overhanging canopy that overhangs the house and other homes. A 5-year TPO review, but 24/7, 364 days a year is what they endure. Garden improvements negated due to ground root interference, which is really not permitted. No benefits to the occupants that is shared by the community. The tree, Eucalyptus columbia, referred to as a spotted gum, is not native to the area. The merit of having a green canopy is known to the community as being wanted. I agree with the concept. However, it is not unreasonable to conclude eucalyptus trees in a small, tiny urban landscape have unique challenges that are often the cause of grief and costly damage to private property, infrastructure, local government and environment. We have this discretionary opportunity to make a positive impact in judicial fairness, to balance the scale for equal responsibility. Let's not waste it. And this is my recommendation, which is on the screen, which is what I put forward now.
Thank you, Councillor Sargison. Councillor Keogh, would you like to speak?
Thank you, Mayor. I am sympathetic to Councillor Sargison's concerns, recognising that there are some people who have got various views on this. Obviously, the one that initiated or the cause of this initial, I guess, TPO concern, there's been some recent changes, so that alleviates some of my concerns. I'm open to the idea, while I'm not completely for this recommendation as it is, I am open to the idea of perhaps reviewing the TPO, which was, I think, also suggested at committee. And I also recognise that there was a further TPO consideration by the City of Coburn recently as well, where they're trying to, of course, ensure tree canopy remains quite stable and also looking at the broader concerns of the community. So maybe that could be considered by us at a later date. So I'm open to the possibility of this being changed where we look at TPOs in a broader context, but as it stands, I'm probably not for it, but I thought I'd also want to allow Councillor Sargison to raise his concerns and be able to speak.
Thank you, Councillor. Dr. Willinger, would you like to speak?
Just briefly, we did obviously speak at committee, but we can always speak again. The officers with the TPO policies regularly employ contractors to review our TPO trees, arborists, and as it says in the report, they will do works. We also learnt at committee that if a rescinding needs to occur, the arborists will let the officers know. So I'm comfortable that the officers would tell us when we need to rescind TPOs rather than us deciding. And I'm also comfortable that they get regularly reviewed. I don't mind if we review the TPO policy. I also, the other items about the education and communication and financial or logistical support, some of them are mentioned already having been done. Apart from actually removing or rescinding that particular TPO, I'm not uncomfortable with some of the other parts of the recommendation, and that is as was discussed at committee. That was my views there.
Thank you. Do I have anyone to speak for the recommendation?
I'm a little bit like Councillor Keogh, Madam Mayor. I actually don't support all 5 points, and I wish all 5 points were there. If I had the opportunity to change that, I'd leave point 1 and point 3. I'd remove point 2, 4 and 5 because I don't think that's appropriate in this recommendation. I've been for that TPO ever since I've been on council, and there was reasons for that in the sense of stopping people from having a big block with a nice tree in it and then subdividing all around it and then deciding to get rid of the tree. So in principle, I know where we came from on that. However, I have looked at this tree over the years, and each time this has come up, I've become more and more tempted to. I'm not sure I agree with the tree that size right over a house like that. And I looked at it again the other day and I just said, I agree that that TPO should be removed and the owners of the property have the ability to remove it because it's huge. And over the last few years, I've seen more branches fall off healthy trees than I've seen before. Even last week going to work, we lost one on our laneway, which thank you to the tech services team for removing it, but it was huge. If that had landed on a car, bike, whatever, that would have been the end of a kid on a bike anyway. And it looked, when I looked at it, it looked like a healthy branch that's come off, just because it was hanging over, the wind had blown and it had snapped off. And I've looked at this tree, and again, if any councillors have looked at it, it's not a tree you want hanging over your house. I really don't. So I'm okay with point 1, and I'm okay for us at another time to look at our TPO policies again, just to, okay, where have we got them? Why are they in that particular? I'm okay with that. So, yeah, I support 1 and 3, but I'm unfortunately, Councillor, I'm going to have to vote against this whole motion unless the motion was changed to 1 and 3, and then I would support it. But again, that tree is really, 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 really big, and if you look at it over that house, yeah, I think it's a risk for us as a council to not do something about it. And pruning it regularly is not enough. It's big. It's a big tree. So that's my.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Is there anyone to speak against the recommendation?
Hi. So similar to Councillor Willinger, I'm not totally against points 2, 3, 4 and 5 of the recommendation. However, it's my understanding that this property has just recently changed hands, and I don't know if the current owners of the property want to have their tree removed. So it's their tree right now. So obviously, I think the tree is a problem. It's a very large tree. I've seen pictures of the tree. But really, this needs to come from the current owners of the property to request that this be reviewed or looked at, not for us to make a decision on their behalf, I believe.
Thank you, Councillor. Is there anyone to speak for this motion? Anyone to speak against? Councillor Mosey?
Yes, I would like to speak against, and I would also like to foreshadow the current motion there if this one should fail, if I could. So I think my main concern is, and Councillor Busby sort of touched on this, that I actually believe this sends a really bad message if we allow this TPO to be removed. It sends a message to mum and dad developers that they can subdivide their block, build a house right up next to a tree, and then cut down that said tree. I'm really concerned with that. We're about to be debating around trying to increase our canopy cover. Again, we're sending the message that actually it's okay to cut down trees. The person that's just bought it, we've just heard it sold. The person who just bought it, made an informed decision that was on the title that there's a TPO on that tree. They've made an informed decision to still go ahead with that purchase, knowing the tree is above that house. So I am completely against this current motion.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. If there's no one else to speak, Councillor Sargison, would you like to wrap up?
Thank you. Initially, it was the owners of the house who actually wanted the tree removed, had tried on a number of occasions and failed. They've come to the councillors, the local ward councillors, to actually represent them to have the tree removed, or as best they can to have the TPO removed. Over the years, it's been unsuccessful, but over all those years, the tree has grown considerably from the original 25, 30 metres, now it's 45. So the dangers are present. The dangers occurs mostly during storms, wet weather, and when the soil gets damaged and so forth. That's when the most damage occurs and collapses. So that tree is there 24/7, 364 days a year. So they're living in fear with the damage that's already been done to the house, the home, and the cars and the outhouses they had out there for the dogs and so forth. But the lady's actually sold it because she's old. She cannot manage picking up even the bark. It's too much for her now, so she's gone into a residential home. It doesn't matter who's living there. That is totally irrelevant. The problem is the onus of responsibility, the burden they have to bear is by the owner of the property. They have to endure the onus of the burden that is not shared amongst the community. SARS, for example, is shared amongst the community, and everybody pays for it. But
Can I just remind you that to stick to items that the debate that's already occurred? You're just wrapping up the debate. Okay. Thanks.
You're right. So I believe that because it's not been represented across the whole community, and they're having to endure the burden, I think it's unfair and unjust. The correct solution would be to remove the tree. So I agree with Councillor Busby on items 1 and 3. I'm hoping that somebody will foreshadow that if this one fails. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Councillors, I will, so Councillor Sargison, can you turn your mic off? Thank you. I will put this recommendation, noting that if this one fails, we do have one that's flagged already, which is the current officers, noting the officers' report. Can I have all those in favour of this changed recommendation to show your support? And all those against? Thank you. And the motion is lost. We do have the motion from the... we do need a motion mover. Is Councillor Mosey, are you happy to move the motion?
Yes, I would like to move the motion as shown on page 38.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? Councillor Busby is opposed. Sorry, okay, because Councillor Busby has opposed. Is there a seconder for the motion? Councillor Hetherington, thank you. And would you like to speak, Councillor Busby?
Isn't it my turn first?
Oh, sorry, it is your turn first. Sorry.
But no, I don't want to speak.
Councillor Busby. Oh, Hetherington is a seconder. Would you like to speak? Sorry.
I know, only to say this is one that I've really sat on the fence with, but I think at this point there's a few things in there that that we probably need to flesh out a little bit more before we go down this path of rescinding. One being the owners of the property, so I back it as it stands to just note the report, and hopefully later on we can get a bit more information.
Thank you. Councillor Busby.
Yeah, I only wanted to, I could add something now that I couldn't add previously, that in a comment that was made earlier on, which is a fair comment, was about residents been knocking down trees. We really need to be focusing on the developers and a lot of other people knocking down trees, and the amount of trees we've lost to things like David Rose Underpass, you name it, the widening of Albany Highway, the putting under pipes. We've lost tens, if not hundreds of thousands of trees in that area. I'm not convinced we're going to lose too many trees in the middle of residential blocks. So I just sort of wanted to balance that out. And but this is a big tree, and to me it wasn't, and I was aware that the property had sold, that did come up through the meeting, but I've seen this tree, and I do believe we're at a risk, and that's why I'm really supporting it, because out of all the TPAs we got, this is one that I really worry one day something's going to happen, and I don't care who the owner is. If that owner's a family of 5 kids and they're playing in that backyard around that tree, you know, I don't want to be, I want to be the fact that I've supported getting rid of it, because I don't think that's the size tree you want in the backyard. So thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone to speak for the current motion? Note the officer's report. No one else. Councillor Keogh.
Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the concerns that have been raised by both sides of the argument, and like Councillor Hetherington has said, it's a bit hard to grapple with. I think, though, for us to make a really informed decision, it might be best that we do go with what is with number 3. And as I mentioned earlier, where we review and update TPO policies, we can get a bit more further understanding as to the nature of these trees, whether we need to perhaps look at if that needs to be considered across the board. But I definitely agree with Councillor Busby and Councillor Sargerson's earlier concerns about, you know, this can be a life and death situation as well, that needs to be really reflected upon. But I still think we should be going through policies and procedures to try and address that in the first instance, and then maybe if we do need to then go outside of those boundaries, then of course we do so. So yeah, I'll do a Councillor Mosey here, and should this one not go through, I'll foreshadow that we just have number 3 as the recommendation that goes through. But we'll cross that bridge should we have to. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anyone to speak? How did you speak? What's that for? Sorry, against?
Hello. Although I recognise what all of us councillors are doing, similar to Councillor Keogh, I would like to foreshadow an alternate motion recommendation, should this one fail, of putting through all points 2, 3, 4 and 5, because that will give us an opportunity.
We've already got a foreshadowed one.
Yeah.
So would you like to speak for, against?
I'm speaking against the current recommendation to note the officer's report.
Thanks. Okay. Have we talked ourselves out now through two movements of this thing? Anyone else to speak for or against? Would you like to wrap up?
Yes, please.
Okay.
And I know I chose not to speak at the start, but I would like to just wrap up now. That I would just reiterate that we have TPOs for a really good reason. We all, I think, around this table are passionate about canopy. We have experts that are reviewing TPO trees, including this one, and they will make recommendations if there's any concern. They will also make recommendations to actually rescind TPOs if there's concerns. And as I said in the earlier debate, somebody has just bought that property fully informed that that tree is there. They've made a conscious decision. They're clearly comfortable. So I don't think that it's on us to be changing this recommendation. I think it doesn't prevent us asking to review the TPO policy, etc., down the track. I think just right now, noting the officer's comments and then moving on, and then we can look at that down the track, would be the best course of action.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. I'll put the recommendation that we note the officer's report. All those in favour? Thank you. All those against? Thank you very much, everybody. And the motion is 1. It's carried. Page 39, we don't have anything. So is the Chair prepared to move all those items which have not already been dealt with?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? Thank you. If there's no one opposed, that's carried. That takes us through to the Corporate Services Committee meeting held on the 17th of March. Is the Chair prepared to move receipt of those minutes?
Yes, I would like to move receipt of the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held on Tuesday, 17th of March, subject to any corrections, of which I have one. I feel it's an important one, but interesting to see the response. On page 89, there's a note towards the top that says, the CEO advised the committee that officers will not be able to deliver the Rushton Park Pigeon Poultry Pavilion referred to in point 6A in time for the 2026 Kelmscott show. I think that needs to be corrected to say may not be able to deliver, because that is what I heard at committee, and I don't think these minutes reflect that. That's the only correction that I have. Subject to that, I'm happy to move them unless anyone else has a correction.
I'm just conferring with the CEO. Would you like to give that wording again? Because it's there is a nuance there.
Through the Chair, I asked that it be recorded that officers had advised that they would not be able to deliver the shed. The Chair at the time asked me the question, but you would really try? And I said we would make every endeavour to try. But we could not promise that we would be able to deliver it.
Are you happy with that explanation?
No.
Okay, what we're accepting tonight is the report. So I guess what we're going to do is accept the report as it's written now. You can decide on the minutes at the next meeting. So at the start of each committee meeting, that's when the minutes are actually accepted and changed or whatever. So I can accept changes tonight, but we usually do that at committee, because it's the committee who were present who can more fulsomely recollect, and that's the job of the committee. So we're going to... Yes, you're up.
I am up. Will I be recorded as a person that moved receipt of these minutes? Because I don't want to be, please. Maybe Deputy Chair could do it, because I'm not willing to.
Okay. But your role is only to receive the minutes, not to... But so you're not receiving the minutes at all?
No.
So, no? Okay. Deputy Chair, where are you? Councillor Peter?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you prepared to move receipt of the minutes?
Yeah, I am happy to accept the report of the minutes. Corporate Service Committee meeting held on 17th of March 2026, subject to any corrections.
Thank you. Perhaps we shouldn't be saying that, because it gives the impression that we're going to correct them now. but we correct them at committee. Thank you very much, everybody. The Deputy Chair has moved receipt of those, the record of that meeting. Is there anyone opposed?
Yes.
Thank you. Councillor Mosey has opposed, so do we have a seconder for that?
Chair, can I ask a question?
Yes.
It's a procedure question. If the chair is not happy to accept, he can make a procedural motion? Because the mayor's decision is not changed now. Is the Councillor Mosey is allowed to make a procedural motion to then council can take decision now?
Apparently, I'm getting nods over here. Yep. Under our standing orders, if you... so how would that work? Would you like to move a procedural motion saying what?
I have no idea, sorry, I don't understand what this procedure is, but if it's to say that we take a decision now whether we're going to change these minutes or not, and then we can perhaps get recollections of other people who were at that committee meeting, then I would be all for that. So yes, please, I'd like to move that, whatever that motion says, if we can get it brought up, because I don't know what it needs to say, sorry.
Well, if you're moving the motion, you need to be the one that comes up with a motion. I'm sorry, but that's the way that it is.
Okay, then I would like a motion that says, a procedural motion that says we would like to make a decision on the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held on Tuesday the 17th of March, that page 89 is corrected to say may not rather than will not. Please.
So the procedural motion would actually have to say that the ruling of the chair you don't agree with, and then we vote on that. So the ruling that I've made that the minutes should be dealt with at committee, that's the procedural motion. So if you disagree with my ruling, then you move that council disagrees with my ruling, and then you would be able to overrule my ruling and then perhaps move a different set of different wording for that night.
I don't want to go down that path. I think maybe I've made my point enough that I strongly feel that I heard it was may not rather than will not. So I don't want to go down that path, sorry.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're moving on. Is there anyone opposing the receipt of these minutes?
Yes, I would still like to oppose it. Sorry.
Thank you. So noted. Is there a seconder for the receipt of these minutes? Thank you, Councillor Keogh. Would you like to speak, Councillor Peter?
Not really, Madam. I think in my memory, your ruling is correct. The CEO was very clear. She will not be able to deliver this project in 2026 financial year. Before the show, I think that is the correct answer we received from the CEO. That is in my memory, and I think the report is correct. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. My ruling was that it would be dealt with at committee. Sorry. Councillor Keogh, would you like to speak?
Only to say I understand Councillor Mosey's frustration, and it's quite a curious turn of events that we find ourselves in this situation. But I'm happy to go with the procedures that we have currently in place, where the minutes will then be potentially discussed and debated, and maybe even changed at the next Corporate Services Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Mosey, would you like to speak?
No, thank you. I think I've spoken enough.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to speak about this matter?
I'd just like to ask a question because I'm curious. I'm sure this is a big item we're going to be
We
talking.
are in debate,
Yes.
councillor, so
Okay.
I prefer not to have questions.
All right. Well, I'm curious then. My debate is if there was a will not, how did we get a recommendation that's saying we will do it for the 2026 Kelmshots show? So it was either, does that mean it was ignored because I wasn't at the committee? So I'm asking, I guess,
If we could just have the person on the microphone speaking,
Yep.
please, councillors.
So I was
you.
just curious, did that mean the CEO was ignored, or was the committee didn't quite hear that and they heard what Councillor Mosey said, and that's why this motion is to actually, we're going to do it in time for the 26 Kelmscott show. So the two just sort of don't add up to me either. Thank you.
Thank you. Whatever it was, committee decided those words. I wasn't on the committee as such. With that wrapping up, Councillor Peter, would you like to wrap up?
All good, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'll put it to the vote then. All those in favour of receiving these, the notes of this meeting, put your hand up. All those in favour. Thank you. All those against. Thank you. And the motion is carried. Thank you, councillors. Okay, we move into the report itself. Page 44, 1.1, list of accounts paid January 2026, with the recommendation on page 46. Page 47, 1.2, statement of financial activity, January 2026, with the recommendation coming on page 52. Is the chair prepared to move this item?
Yes, he is. I would like to move that item, please.
Thank you, Chair. We do need an absolute majority, so the Chair has moved. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you very much, and absolute majority has been reached. We'll move on to page 53, 1.3, review of the 2025-2026 annual budget. Councillor Silva.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to make an amendment to the current recommendation on the table. I just wanted to apologise firstly because I was meant to do this at committee, but I was so wrapped up in some other questions that I forgot to mention it. But the amendment is on the screen as you can see it. Basically, it's just to add the money that we had put it away last November, I think. We actually put away 47,000, I believe, into the Future Projects Fund for this specific item, but it turns out we don't need that much, so approximately 20,000.
Councillor Willinga, you're opposing?
And I have a question. Oh, should I not do that now?
Yes, you can have a question.
Okay. I apologise. I missed the last council meeting where the Parks Facilities Strategy went through, and this item's been ongoing for a while, and so I'm just looking through the Parks Facilities Strategy, trying to understand if this park, what grade of park this park was, and I'm looking at the play amenity guidelines and whether it was the local play, the neighbourhood play, the district play or the regional play, because I specifically remember saying to some of the councillors, if you wanted like drink fountains in certain parks, please, I hope it's written in the Parks Facilities Strategy so that it's across all the parks of that size in that area if it's required. And so I suppose the question maybe to officers, is it in the Parks Facilities Strategy? Because I can't find it, but I don't know what scale of park it is.
Thank you for that question. I will hand over to the CEO, who might hand over to the Director.
Sorry, through the Chair, I would have to take some time to actually review that, and I think there are neighbourhood plans that are being developed for each of the areas within the city to determine what facilities need to be added to comply with the Parks Facilities strategy. Those neighbourhood plans haven't been developed at this stage, and then they will also inform the Parks Improvement Plan, which will be then the prioritised list of improvements. But the Executive Director may recall this particular part better than myself, but I would need some time to look that up.
Thank you very much, CEO. Don't recall either.
I don't want to answer the question, but I just feel that
sit down then, please.
The answer is in a memo that was sent to us, so a hard copy.
Okay, great.
Which says it's fine.
Yep, okay. Could I ask, sorry, if there was a bit of information that you, Councillor Silva, in moving this item, mentioned that we had allocated $47,000 to this particular project. Could I just get clarification on that from the CEO?
Through the Chair, I believe Councillor Silva mentioned that $46,000 was put away in the future projects reserve. No, what happened was that in December, Council made a decision to put 300 of the remaining FY 300,000 of that surplus into the future projects reserve, and it was actually Councillor Silva who moved that 46,000 remain to be considered as part of the mid-year budget review. So it's the remnant of the FY 25 surplus that was deliberately unallocated in December and specifically mentioned for consideration as part of this mid-year review. But the recommendation of Council in December did not specify for the water fountain at Villatella Park.
Right. So, yes. Okay, that explains it. So it wasn't allocated to Villatella Park as such, it was unallocated. So we're discussing it now as part of this recommendation. So Councillor Silva has added that to the recommendation, $20,000 to a fountain at Villatella Gardens. Is there anyone...
Just, Madam Mayor, could I ask a question? That recommendation changes don't make sense then. The dollars don't line up on point 3. The first point says it is funded out of budget surplus, so we probably need to... we can't really debate a recommendation that's not actually reading right to start with. It needs to be probably reworded a bit, correct?
Through the Chair, my understanding is this recommendation was prepared with the assistance of our Executive Director of Corporate Services, which is our role when elected members come to us, and that with a reduction or with an allocation of $20,000 towards Villatella, that would reduce the overall surplus anticipated at the end of year by to 170,000. But I'm happy to refer the question to the Executive Director of Corporate Services for further clarity.
So I shall just use my projected voice. So the December decision of Council that contemplated the remainder of the FY 25 surplus, the Office of Recommendation at the time was to transfer the 346,000 to the future projects reserve. At the time the council debated that, part of that debate and discussion revolved around Philatella, and the decision was made to just do it a neat 300,000 to the future projects reserve and leave the 46,000 as the FY25 surplus that just carries forward into FY26, and that's what we have been reporting in our monthly financial statements. Is as a result of that is we've had this 46,000 surplus for the council to decide on, and the reference to that decision in December took us to the budget review, and you will recall a memorandum was issued ahead of the corporate services meeting to remind councillors of that.
Thank you very much. Councillor Stoneham, you've got your light on. Can you pop it off? Thank you. So with that clarification, have we got more questions?
Yes, a question if I may, Mayor.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, just out of curiosity, so I was wondering if the city officers could provide any clarification or info on the costings for this particular item that may exist?
Through the chair, in part of preparation of this motion, at the request of Councillor Silva, the Executive Director of Corporate Services conferred with the Executive Director of Technical Services to make sure that if there were to be an allocation to the Philatella Park water fountain, that it would be sufficient, so that there would be no further need to return to council and seek further funds. So there is some comfort on behalf of officers that 20,000 should be enough to do the job.
Thank you. That's answered that question. Do we have a seconder for this motion? Thank you. Councillor Stoneham has seconded. Do we have anyone opposed? Councillor Mosey.
Yes, I'm opposing. Thanks.
Councillor Silva, would you like to speak to your item?
Firstly, I just wanted to address the question about whether this was allowed with the strategy, but in the memo, I'm quoting the memo, it says, under both the current and the draft updated strategy, a drink fountain would be considered acceptable in this location, just to rest assure any councillors that were worried about that part. It's been a long time. We've my former colleague, Councillor Singh, brought this up quite some time ago, and we've been. But I supported him, and we've been asking for this for some time because we have actually, nearly every day I'm asked by the residents when it's going to get done because unfortunately their children go to school and their grandchildren go to school. My son. It's a really well-used park. You will find there's 40 to 50 people there a night, and some kids are spending 2 to 3 hours there. Like I said, it's a part of both the former strategy and the current strategy. It's fine, and that's being confirmed by the officers. But I just feel like this is responding directly to community feedback, and it's a pretty easy, low-cost way to just update that space without doing a big overhaul. These residents haven't asked for a barbecue like in the former strategy. It required a barbecue and a fountain. They haven't asked for any updates to the playground. They just asked for a pretty simple fountain, and they've been doing it for a long time. They've kept up on us. So it is a very valued local space, and this is a small, low cost and practical improvement that supports how the park is currently being used. While the park is not identified as a major priority for major upgrades, it is not an upgrade, it's just a minor addition that improves the amenity without requiring a large sum of money. Providing access to drinking water supports health, wellbeing, and encourages people to stay active in the park for longer, especially with the weather we've had over the last couple of months. And also, it has come out to be a lower cost than the original 45,000 that we had not set aside to discuss. I was just following on to make it a formalisation. I thought when we had discussions last time, nobody was against that item. It wasn't against leaving that funds to be discussed for this. So I figured that was a pretty straightforward item, and nobody would really have any issues for it. But I'm interested to hear everybody else's debate. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councillor Silva. Councillor Stoneham, would you like to speak?
Hi, yes. So in September last year, Council decided that we would consider the installation of a water fountain at Villatella Park as part of the 25-26 mid-year budget review. And that did not happen at committee last week. I think it should be considered, as Councillor Silva has said. This is something that community has been asking for a long time. It's not a massive amount of money. We tend to spend a lot of time debating small amounts of money and not so much time spending large amounts of money. I think that we have that little surplus that would manage to fulfil this one item that is up for review at the mid-year budget review. It's not like there's 100 other items that are fighting for that 46,000. I think it's reasonable for us as a community, as a council, to supply this community for the water fountain that they want. We've had an extremely hot summer, like extremely hot summer. We continue to have an extremely hot summer. And I think giving one water fountain to a community that needs it in our current climate, literally, would not be a bad thing for us to do. So I hope the rest of council will support this rather minor addition to a park.
Thank you, Councillor Stoneham. Councillor Mosey, would you like to speak?
Yes, please. I first want to say I am somewhat of a reluctant objector, but I guess the main reason that I am is that I distinctly remember on multiple occasions that the advice was given that it should be included in the park strategy. And whilst we've heard from Councillor Silva that it's acceptable under the new park strategy, I don't at all think, and I share Dr. Willinger's questions when I'm reading the park strategy, I don't think it clearly says this type of park, such as Villatella, should get a water fountain. I don't think it says that at all, and I think that's the clarity we needed out of that strategy. Given we don't have that, we just heard from the CEO that what will underpin that strategy is neighbourhood plans and park improvement plans, and they will set the priority of the things that are needed in all of our parks right across the city of Armidale. Who's to say there's not 10 other parks that need a water fountain more than this one, and yet we are just queue jumping and picking a pet project to give a water fountain? That's my concern. But I also understand that this has been, a really important issue for our former colleague that Councillor Silva just mentioned, and Councillor Silva herself. I understand that. I'm certainly not against water fountains. I absolutely understand the need for them, but I just don't think when it's clearly not called out in the strategy and we haven't developed those neighbourhood plans and park improvement plans, we should be jumping the gun and giving it to this particular park. That's my reason to oppose.
Thank you, Councillor Mosey. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Councillor Hetherington.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to highlight, I voted against this a couple of times as it's gone through, and the times that I voted against it were actually due to the process, not in particular the actual idea of the fountain. This, for me, says the process that I was requesting has happened, and for me, I have that comfort. The funding has been explained. We have the ability to do it. Under our park strategy, it has been highlighted that that this is a suitable park, and I think that when Councillor Mosey says who's to say that there might be 10 other parks, well, our community and our residents are the people that say, and in this area, these residents have pushed for this for a very long time. And they haven't let go because it is something that's really important to them, and it is something that's really important to the councillors that are representing that community. And I think there needs to be an element of, and we're about to do this with one of our next items as well, listening to the community that are being vocal and that are saying this is something that we need and something that we want in our community. And I think as long as we have followed due process, as long as the funding is available, which we've ticked off all of those boxes, this is something that the community want. It's something that the community are screaming for, and so we're not putting. There's no harm. There's no risk for us to put this forward. So, for those reasons, I'm going to vote with this motion.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Is there anyone to speak against the motion? Councillor Busby.
Thanks, Madam Mayor. A little bit the same as Councillor Mosey. I've gone back to the September meeting where we discussed this quite in depth. And it does say it's a neighbourhood park and a drink fountain can be installed to support regional infrastructure such as picnic and barbecue facilities. That's where we normally put a fountain to support that. It doesn't have those as yet. It does mention in that same report that the current Parks Improvement Plan for Teller Park is not ranked within the top 50 parks for improvement, with other improvement projects ranking higher. Yes, Councillor Hetherington does make a point. Sometimes our residents yell and ask for things, and that's good because that's what we want residents to do. But there's also lots of other residents that have those parks as well who probably don't know they can go to their councillor and ask for one, and so there is a risk as well. And the other concern that I always had with this one was a comment that was made is, as this site does not have an existing potable water connection, an application will have to be made to the Water Corporation if it is resolved to include a water fountain. So it doesn't even have water there to connect the water fountain to. So I remember when we discussed all of this, that there was reasons that we decided not to support it, that we actually wanted to go to our park strategy where we could have a look at all that and then get a list of the parks that had the priority, where it needed to be done and whatever. And that's the reason, as I did before, that I don't support just pulling some money out and putting it towards this one, because it was passionate for Councillor Virk, I'll give him that. But it's interesting that I find personally as a councillor, when our wards, all of our wards get passionate, like we've just had in the last few days, we get emails as well. All councillors get emails when people are really passionate about something. And I've never had an email myself for a water fountain in this park. So that's for our report that we had previously, and the reasons we didn't support it then are the same reasons I can't just support changing our budget document today. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Is there anyone to speak for the motion? Councillor Peter?
Yeah, thank you.
Sorry, Councillor Peter beat you.
Thank you, Mayor, Madam. I support the motion because the main reason, I think I still remember Councillor Virk bring this as a council item, and that time we discussed this matter and okay, we will review in the media. And we are dealing with the 152 million operating budget, and we talking about $20,000. That is for the water fountain, for drinking water. And especially in that area, it's a high density area, and we removing a lot of trees to develop that area, that become a hot island. So we removing area and we getting a more new development, we getting more rates, we getting more income from that area. I think $20,000 is not a big deal to give a water fountain to that area. And still we have $83,000 not allocated fund. I believe that is a good enough money to do a water fountain in that area. And I agree that point, we need to have a strategy. I agree that point, we need to have an analysis, and some areas still need more priority area. But at this point, with the Technical Service Committee decide, we will discuss and take a decision in the media review. And with the only $20,000, I am happy to support the motion as it is. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Is there anyone to speak against the motion? Anyone to speak? Well, I might just say a few words then before. Sorry, where are you at?
Midway, really.
Well,
Can
Midway,
I
I haven't asked for Midway. I've asked for a against. Are you against?
I could be against if that allows me to speak right now.
I think we've pretty much got to the end of it. If you would like to say a few words, we can let you say a few words.
Just quickly, I do have to agree with Councillor Busby, it isn't meant to be about the money, as we've just spoken of. It was meant to be about the principle of the matter. And that's why I said, has it come through the Parks Facility Strategy yet? Because it shouldn't be about how big our operating budget is. It should be whether or not it's on the list and whether or not it needs to be done, because it was said by Councillor Hetherington that our residents would come and tell us. There's actually quite a few areas of our city where they will absolutely not tell us, and we need to be on the ball with our Parks Facilities Strategy in areas of need. I, of course, do not have that much of the problem with the amount of money, and it's come to us several times, but I would like to be very careful that the officers are going to go through all of our neighbourhood parks now and put in their 1 drink fountain, 1 barbecue, 1 to 2 bins, and a wheelchair access and a picnic seating, as it says now in the Parks Facilities Strategy, not just in one park, all of them.
Okay, that's a statement. Yes, thank you. I might just make a few comments before I ask Councillor Silva to wrap up. I understand that this has come to us a few times and that we were looking for process to be followed, sort of some evidence of the need and a strategy that actually pointed us in the direction of whether there was a need with the size and the scope of the park itself. What I have come to understand, however, is that whether it's in a strategy or not, sometimes we need to be agile and we need to be able to choose to deviate from a strategy to get an outcome that the community is after. And I think that different communities, different areas of our city use parks differently. They may use the park more at night, more in the morning. So it's up to us as councillors to understand the usage patterns and the demand of each of these parks. How we get some evidence for that, the officers will be, obviously, when they see wear and tear on the ground, paint worn off play equipment or lots of litter in the bins, they will understand the usage patterns as well. The local councillors have brought this item to us several times, and although it wasn't specifically picked up in the strategy, I believe that probably this park is being used differently to a lot of other similar parks across the city. So whilst I'm not endorsing the view that we now go and put various structures in parks that perhaps aren't used as much, that we do actually commit to spending this money on that particular park because there has been evidence or the community has gone to the ward councillors at the very least over a prolonged period to express their wish for a drink fountain. And it sounds like a lot of money, $20,000 for a drink bubbler. However, that's the cost of doing business in local government and getting water to the park. So I'm happy to support this recommendation. Councillor Silva, would you like to wrap up?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to state that I'm not against putting a water fountain in any park that is brought to council. That's not what I'm about. I'm not trying to favour one park. The background of this estate is we did not have a very good developer who actually went into deficit, and we had to, there was a whole drama. So,
and councillor, I'll just caution you as well, just to stick to the matters that have been raised in debate.
The very basics were put into this park, and the paint is chipping, but they've not asked me for a new slide or a more fandangle playground. The kids, I take down soccer goals and we play soccer on the small part of the on the grass that we can, just because we enjoy the park. It's 40 to 50 people there a night. It's well used, and like the Mayor did say, all parks are used different, but in my community it seems to be a destination, and it seems to be an afternoon event. The grandmothers sit on one side and the grandfathers sit on the other side, and the kids play. So I just wanted to respond to a few points that were made. Yes, we have gone, my former colleague, Councillor Virk, may have not initially gone through the correct processes, and the councillors did ask to go through the correct process, so that's where I've taken the lead and done this. And I believe I've done it respectfully and with officer input, in fact, and just respectful discussion. It's a small win. I mean, I know $20,000 is a lot, but in like everyone says all the time, in respect to the rest of our budget, it's not really. I don't understand why we don't take these small wins. I wouldn't blink an eye if this was in Kelmscott, if this was in Seville Grove, or if it was in Armidale. And I've long been a supporter of listening to our residents when they come to us. Well, if you get an email, as Councillor Busby said, if you get an email from your resident asking for something, you action it. You go to it. I've actioned it and I've listened to them. So that's what I'm doing now. If you choose to ignore that email and not come and fight for it, that's up to you, but I'm choosing to fight for my residents. Quite frankly, I'm glad they didn't want a barbecue because I would have seen that as an unseen cost and just inflated the whole thing, so I'm just happy with O-Drink Fountain. And I don't believe it should be related to the size or scope of a playground. I've seen some, our playgrounds out there would just get used massively. We're on small blocks. We're always in the park. It's just the fact of our life. It's just how it is. So I think this would look really great. I don't understand if we can't listen to our residents on small little things that we have control over. I mean, what are we doing here? And I've said this long for 10 years of being a councillor. Yeah, just know that if any of you ever bring up a water fountain, I'll be there to support it. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for listening to me for years, and Councillor Burke for years, about this water fountain. Ta.
Thanks, Councillor Silva. I will put the recommendation with this addition, so that's the whole recommendation with this addition, to the vote. All those in favour? All those opposed? Thank you, and the motion is carried, and an absolute majority has been achieved. I'm sorry. Can you all sit down, please?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to now come to. So you're all right to continue? Yeah. Thank you, councillors. Page 67, 2.1, long-term financial plan, LTFP, 2027 to 2046. We have got people on their feet already, but I will just explain that we do have an interest to be declared by one of our councillors. So, Councillor Smith, would you like to give your interest first?
Yes, please. I'd like to declare an impartiality expression of interest to 2.1. I disclose I am a social member of the Armidale Bowling Club and a volunteer, and I will vote accordingly and to this matter of matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Now, I'm just going to explain what we're going to do as far as, because there's so much interest in various items of the recommendation. I thought that what we would do is break it up into sections, if not just go through individual numbers. I haven't had anyone come to me and be unhappy about points 4 and 5. So I haven't had anyone disagree with those two items. So I'm going to move that we do deal with those two first. I'm happy to move. You're happy to move? Thank you. I was going to get the chair to move, but I'm not sure he's in the mood tonight. Thank you. Councillor Peter has moved dot point 4 and dot point 5. Is there anyone opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. That's carried. And noting we don't need an absolute majority for these decisions. So we've done 4 and 5. We'll now do, let me see, 6 and 7. 6 and 7 seem to go together. Okay, Councillor Peter,
Yeah.
are you moving?
Yeah, no, I am moving with an amendment for item 6.
Right.
Can I do it?
Yes,
Yes. I just to add another point for the 6 point D item E, that is the Rolly Bush Care Facility. 150,000 is identified within the future project reserve to contribute to the future facility to accommodate Rolly Bush Care. I would like to add that is the subsection E in the point 6.
So an addition?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I'm happy to move with that amendment, point 6.
And Councillor Peter, do we know where that 150 is coming from?
That is the identified within the future project reserve. We have $20 million future project reserve, so we need to identify from that future project reserve.
Okay, we do have, okay, so what I'm going to do, I should have done this to start with, I guess was, okay, we'll just see how this goes. So we're moving 6 with A, B, C, D and 7. I would actually like to make also an addition to the point of the Environment Centre, so that council receive a workshop. Are you happy to include that? I have given those words to the secretary to put those on. Yeah, if we're just going to get a few moments to pop that in there. We're just getting some words together for the screen.
That's cool.
Okay, councillors, we've got the words on the screen. Councillor Mosey, you were first. Do you have a question or a...
No, I'm wondering if Councillor Peter might be amenable, given you've just asked for that little tweak to that item, that he would be amenable to a small tweak to A that I have also given to Sapphire. But if not, that's fine.
We don't know what it is. Have you liaised with Councillor Peter, or are the words just going to pop up there?
Hopefully I've given them to the secretary, so...
I know, but you have to get permission for them to be put on the screen.
Okay, just leave it then, that's fine.
Councillor Peter, are you happy for the... Have you spoken to Councillor Mosey about his tweak?
Sorry, Councillor Mosey, can you just read it again? The point?
Councillors, Councillor Keogh, could you pop down, please? Thank you. We've got standing orders, so one person standing at a time, if you don't mind. Thank you. So, Councillor Mosey, would you mind giving us the minor tweak that you would like Councillor Peter to move on your behalf?
Yeah, it's just coming up on screen, but essentially it's just we've put sort of every effort or kind of, you know, to delivering it by the 2026 show, but if not, alternate arrangements be provided or options given to council. Given that there was a reluctance to change, will not be able to from may not, I think that kind of alleviates that concern.
Thank you.
No, I need to clarify.
Sorry, Mayor. I have a question. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. If not, yeah, I'm happy to accommodate.
Councillor Keogh, you had a question?
Thank you. I was wondering if Councillor Peter would be open to having the purple in point B to be added to point E, which I think is, yes.
Councillor Peter, you open to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Thank you.
So can we have the words then, Councillor Keogh?
Copying the purple part from point B to point E.
Councillor Keogh, we're not developing a business case, so what part of that purple wording would you like?
Council hold a strategic workshop with council determine prior to the development of,
would you like to sit down and write something out?
Council to hold a strategic workshop with councillors to discuss the future facility of Raleigh Bushcare.
I'm really not sure that they got that, but we can see what comes up on the screen and then we'll look at it.
I'm not asking for another point.
I'll just ask you just to pop down while we get the words up so that everyone's listening. Okay, councillors, if you just look at your screens, we've got all of those tweaks up on the screen now. Now it's gone. And now it's back. Just trying to save it. Okay, great, thank you. So, has everyone had a chance to look at all those, look at the tweaks, look at the numbers? Yes, Councillor Silva. Question?
I initially asked Councillor Peters for the changes in A, in the red. I was just wanted to say that I put that together to remove point 7, so because we're just saying again that we're going to engage with them, but we've already put that in point 80. So in saying it twice. Does that make sense?
Yep. So do we
So
need...
you might want to remove that point, Councillor Peter.
Do we need to... Could I just ask, do you want to take it out of that, or do you want to take it out of the bottom of point? Do you want to take, so no consultation, sorry, Councillor Peter, do you want no consultation with the pigeon people?
Yes, because sorry, Chair, my understanding there is no registered pigeon club in Armadale, so I am happy to remove. My preference is consultation with the club, not the pigeon.
There is still a club. And they're active. They're just not incorporated, so they're not an incorporated club. So I would suggest.
I can see.
Okay, councillors.
Okay, yeah.
There is a highlighted section on the screen. Officers have suggested we just take that bit out.
Yes, I'm happy.
Are you happy
that.
to move that?
Yeah.
Can I have that? Oh, delete. Excellent. That was quick. Councillor Peter, are you happy to move all of that now? Thank you very much. I will ask then if there's anyone opposed. Only if there's someone opposed. Do we need a seconder? Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, you're opposed. Okay. Okay, I will ask for a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Keogh. I saw you first. We're dealing with 6 and 7. Okay. Okay, so we're dealing with 6 and 7. Everybody, it's on your screen, just 6 and 7. Is there anyone opposed? I'll ask again. No one's opposed. Thank you, that's carried. Okay, just hang in there. We're almost there. We're getting there. So we've done 4, 5, 6 and 7, and we have the number 2 to come next, because that what we've made decisions on so far, plus number 2 and 3, will influence number 1 and 8 and potentially 9 and 10. Okay, so what we're doing now, I'll just be clear, we are going to go to number 2 and number 3. So, Councillor Wallinga, you're up first.
So I'd like to move point 2 and point 3 as they are written, please.
Thank you. Is there? Yes. Thank you. Anyone opposed? Yes. Councillor Peter is opposed. Do I have a seconder for that? Okay, who do I see that time? Councillor Jorgensen, we'll go with you as a seconder. Councillor Wallinga, would you like to speak to the item?
Yes, please, thank you. So as was mentioned at committee when I moved it, I thought that this was a good change. We'd made a similar change last year where we'd put money aside for canopy into the Urban Forest Strategy Reserve. And so I raised during the workshops that the early workshop that I wanted to do this, and then in line with the Kelmscott Public Realm Strategy, which has identified a lack of trees in the area due to all the development that's gone through, I suggested that we allocate it for that region and part of that is obviously the need for it there. The Kelmscott area is a very popular shopping area, but it's also an employment area, and it had suffered over the years with the roadworks that had been happening, and our strategy identified that we should be planting trees there. So, however, it also did identify that there would be some issues with that, and so that's why there's a reference to barrier fencing that would be required more than likely based on the main roads. I also wanted to identify that this is a bit about equity too. Other parts of our city have had funding for their landscaping and for their buildings, and over the years we've tried to be balanced at the council, and some areas have had a lot of buildings, and then over the last few years we've put in a lot of buildings in some of the older areas, and now this one's about the landscaping. Some areas are getting millions of dollars of landscaping. Nicholson Road, for example, $1.2 million, and so I think this is an important, for our second biggest centre of the city of Armidale, we should be putting some money into that. It's our northern gateway. I do know that there's people that, there's a fellow councillors that would like to see the money in some of our other projects, but they are funded. I believe we'll hear about that soon, but we have a Hilbert Library in our long-term financial plan, and if you go to your documents for tonight, you will see that it is funded for 2027 by loans and DCP. There was also the suggestion that we should be leaving some money aside for the future possible turmoil around the world. I don't know if, obviously, if something comes up, we will allocate money to it, but I didn't think we had to allocate this $1 million right now. We haven't heard anything further from our officers about our up-and-coming CPIs and LGCI, so I just thought it would be good to do this. It's good for our residents. There was also comment about other areas in the city, but I think strategically we haven't finished the urban strategy review, which might have an implementation plan. However, we do have the Kelmscott public realm strategy, so I think that needs funding. That's all.
Thank you, Councillor Wallinga. Sorry, can I ask Councillor Wallinga if you put your microphone off?
Sorry.
And I'm going to go now to the seconder. Councillor Jorgensen, would you like to speak to the item?
I would actually just like to clarify that all of the councillors here have received several emails from residents, not just in Kelmscott, but all over Armidale, highlighting very specifically, and I'm going to pick one out because I like this. This is from Brie Hartley, who was a very renowned member of our community, and she specifically says the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, but the next best time is now. I think it very effectively aligns with our strategic strategy, obviously. And I think that echoing all of Councillor Wallinga's sentiments that we should be doing this, it's a no-brainer. So.
Thank you, Councillor. You've opposed. Councillor Peter, you're next speaking.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. I am actually not opposing the full 2 point. I think I supporting allocating 500,000, $500,000 to the Kelmscott public realm strategy. But I have a sentiment, I am 100% agree that point that Kelmscott has been marginally ignored for the last long time. I agree that 100%. So the question is how we ignore the Kelmscott. That's a basic question we need to ask. Because there are different level of government is here. And city collecting maybe 5% of the total revenue. The 99% is collected by other level of state governments, other level of governments. They marginally, maybe I don't know, is marginally ignored, or there is not enough advocacy for the Kelmscott. That is why the Kelmscott is marginally ignored. And I am 100% support. We need more development, more money in the Kelmscott. There is no question about it. But my concern, Madam Mayor, point number 2, we allocate $1 million to the urban forest strategy to reserve fund to the dedicated to the Kelmscott public realm for the purchase and installation of large canopy shade tree on the Albany Highway. My question is, Albany Highway is not city road, control road. It is the main road. And if we need to put a tree in the road, how much money it will cost for the traffic management, basic traffic management? Maybe it will cost $500,000. Madam Chair, if you remember, we have a report, $450,000 for the repurposing a road, and the traffic management is $180,000 in one road in Hilbert. And if, as you know, the Albany Highway is a so busy road, if you need to control the traffic, it will cost maybe a $500,000. So my point is, instead of putting $1 million, put the tree in the middle of the road, if you spend that money in some reserve, some area, we can create more canopies. And for example, Madam Chair, if you recently, there is a huge development happening between the Civil Drive and the Lake Road. And hundreds of mature trees has been removed. We need to plant more trees in that area. I agree with the point, we need to improve the Kelmscott, and also we need funding, but the tree planting should be in a different location. We can get a more canopy cover, we can get a more better area, not in the middle of the road. That is the only reason I am opposing, and I am not sure, there is no feasibility report how much it will cost for the traffic management, and how many trees we can plant over there. Maybe we can plant 10 trees for $1 million. I don't think that is a good decision to take, to plant the tree in the road. And I 100% support we need more trees and everything, but not in the Albany Highway. And the second point, Madam Chair, we talking about allocating growth fund. We already allocated $2 million for the urban forest strategy to plant more trees and improve our facilities. My question, the $2 million, we collected $2 million, and I think if the motion passes, it's a $3 million, total $3 million for the for urban forest strategy. I'm not against it. My concern is the $3 million is coming from the growth area. As I said before, the hundreds of trees, mature tree has been removed from the new development. No question is asking, just bulldoze everything one day, we are losing a lot of trees. And that area become a hot island. We need to plant more trees in that area. For example, Madam Chair, the Hilbert, there is a new developing area, and there is a new community developing. And that area, there is no facility at all for the community. So, as you said before, we have okay, can I speak? Okay, yeah. We have a long-time financial, we have a $30 million budget allocated for the Hilbert Community Center. But as you know, Mayor, there is a big shortfall in the DCP, and there is no funding for it. And the city contribution, there's a $4.6 million. So we need to consider every community in a same way. The city have 3 district centers and 20 suburbs. We need to treat them everything in a proper way. And I am emphasizing that Kelmscott need an attention. They need more trees, there more money to get a better atmosphere in Kelmscott. There is no question. But at the same time, we need to consider other suburbs. With that point, Madam Chair, if the current motion failed, I will foreshadow the item number 2, that is the, can I ask a question, Madam? Do I need to foreshadow the wording for the foreshadow now, or no need? Okay. But
just in general, but not the actual specific.
Okay, yeah. So if the motion is failed, I need to allocate $500,000 for the Kelmscott Public Realm Strategy for the 2027 financial year, and $1 million for the Hilbert Community Center for the 27 financial year surplus. And also, Madam Chair, before we go for the further debate, I just need to inform my view about the financial, the economy, how it's performing now. The executive director, he prepared the budget based on the assumption that the CPI will be 3% or 3.7%. But I am confident with this economic condition, the the CPI may be 5 or 6%. We need to consider that point. And we don't know what is going to happen in the current economy in the world. It's maybe going to be another war within 2 to 3 weeks. It's already started. And we have an officer's report, and we have a workshop, wait for 6 months. The officers come with the recommendation or proposal, how we're going to allocate our cash reserve, and based on that report, we may take a decision. So I strongly encourage all the councillors, don't allocate the fund for the 2028 surplus. That may be a good decision. And that is the only reason I 100% support ChemScot. ChemScot need more attention, and we need to support more ChemScot. So with that point, that's only the point I am opposing the current motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. I might just ask for clarification regarding from the officers regarding the $500,000 that is being talked about. Could we just get some clarification on how long ago that was reserved and the decision that was made? That was already been allocated to Kelmscott for the public realm strategy, so it's not, I understand it's not new money.
Through the chair, the 500,000 that is spent. The 500,000, Mayor, that is mentioned in part 3 of the current recommendation that you see before you is already held in reserve. So they are, the wording was specifically existing funds held in reserve for the Kelmscott public realm strategy. It's identified for that purpose.
Thank you for that clarification there. We'll now go to, is there anyone to speak for the motion?
Thanks, Madam Mayor. I'm going to do that while I've got some energy left. The big point that we need to understand here, and same with our community behind us, is these 2 points are prefaced by a big if. So we're actually not committing money yet. We're actually making a commitment that if we have a surplus, this is where we want to put it. You know, so there is a chance, and it's just important that we all understand that there is a chance that if we don't have a budget surplus, apart from that $500,000, nothing else has been potentially committed until we get to other budgeting further down the track, maybe. It's important we say that. My notes are all over the place a little bit, but I just want to make some comments regarding the new areas versus the old areas. The new areas do have DCP. Yes, some of that DCP is probably short, but it has it. And there's an opportunity with DCP for those developed areas, and that's what we're building the community centres with. That's what we can hold the developers accountable to, for trees, for canopy cover and all that, which our development service team are fighting for all the time. What we're talking about here is, there is no funding for what happened to Kelmscott. Now, the one win we probably we're all happy about who go through that area and drive around that area is when Denny Avenue went and Davis Road was created. We're all excited about that. Not so excited about losing the roads around that area for probably 18 months before losing the trains for a further 18 months. But that area was a disaster for people who lived there. And the truth is, it was pillaged when it was done. The widening of Armidale Road, the ripping out of all the trees, the ripping out of all of just about everything we had that made the place look green was gone. And what we need to understand is Kelmscott, and we've talked about this as a council for as long as I've been on, we want to make sure our entry points stand out. Kelmscott is an entry point. It's our main entry point coming from, if you're coming off Tonkin Highway, you're coming from north, you're coming from anywhere, you come into Kelmscott, the first thing you see about the city of Armidale is Kelmscott. That's what you drive through. And it's as bare as anything at the moment. So I believe this is an important outcome for us to say that we're committed to potentially fixing up what others have done. Yes, I agree that you know, we should be going after, you know, our local government, our state government to help, and I believe we will do that, and I think we'll fight for that. And if they come through to the party, guess what? We'll have some money to put somewhere else. You know, there's no doubt about that. But I just think it's important. Apart from Kelmscott Hall, now someone's going to pick me up on this, but I can't remember anything major we've done for Kelmscott for a while now. Fry Park was a long, long, long time ago. Kelmscott Hall is for the whole of the community. Because if you look at people who use Kelmscott Hall, most of them coming outside of Kelmscott anyway. You know, so it's a great facility. But what we're looking at here, we're not looking for parks, we're not looking for anything else. This commitment is to actually green up the best we can the gateway to Armidale coming from that river. And so that's why I did see the emails from the community, and I understand that, you know, they were generated from Facebook and whatever, and I understand that, but you do read the passion in it. But I was committed to this before I read those emails, that I just think it's important that we do the best we can if there's some surplus left over. You know, if there's no surplus left over, then we'll be talking about other ways of trying to do something the best we can, which we're all committed to. But this is an if. But if we do get it, and if we do have a surplus, I'm very committed to putting it in this place. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Busby.
Can I ask one question, Madam Mayor?
We're in debate now, so...
No questions allowed? Yes.
Okay, go on then.
Yeah, just a question to the Corporate Director. The 2028 financial year, definitely we have a 1 million surplus, or not?
We're not talking about the surplus, we're talking about the growth budget.
Yeah, so that's correct. So
surplus.
2028, we will have 1 million.
I'll get the Executive Director to clarify.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mayor, councillors.
Thank you very much. Councillor Silva, are you speaking?
I'd like to ask a question too. I just wanted to clarify whether or not the Kelmscott Realm strategy is actually finished and done for, because I believe it's not. So I just wanted to, because Councillor Willingham said it was, I think, so I just wanted to check.
Thank you. It's not come back from the consultant with the final report, no. Okay. And we're not rebutting each other's points, if we don't mind, with questions. So if we just stick to the debate that we want to have ourselves, that'd be great. Now we go to who spoke last? Councillor Busby, you're for. Anyone to speak against this item? Anyone to speak for? Councillor Newman. Oh, sorry, I saw him first. Oh, he's acquiesced. Councillor Keogh, you go.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a few points to make. I agree with a lot of the sentiments that have been mentioned already. I very much live by the motto that when Kelmscott wins, the city wins. as very much identified with Councillor Busby there, that it's a gateway into the city. It's the main, or it's one of the main, if not the main way in which we have residents entering the city. And it's of course it is the city's oldest area and has unfortunately been neglected for quite some time. As many councillors would have seen, ideally all, there was an email sent from the Armidale Chamber of Commerce with an open letter pointing out a number of reasons why this should be considered. Some of those being such as that there have been several businesses that are supporting the allocation of these funds, that the city should be leading investment, and that is crucial and has a wide-ranging effect on businesses around the area. The urban heat effect that's been widely referred to throughout many different times. As Councillor Peter has also mentioned, that is something that we want to address. And we know that the area is dominated by large volumes of traffic daily. So from a 2018 report, I found that 33 cars went through the area daily, and that's 8 years old or so. So there's going to be definitely, of course, more than that. We want to create a vibrant, high-quality public open space for all to enjoy, and it also sends a strong message to our community that the city is serious about revitalisation of the area. And it supports, of course, our own strategic community plan as well. As previously referred to, there are, of course, a lot of issues that the city of, or the area, sorry, of Kelmscott has unfortunately faced over a number of years now. So we have the trees ripped out from the Denny Ave Works and Davis Road. We've had a number of businesses shut, such as petrol stations, the old Sizzler, the Coventry's, the Chemist, the Day Spa, and many others. And of course, as mentioned, we had Albany Highway closed for close to 2 years with one lane each, and that of course affected businesses and of course amenity as well. The train line was closed for close to 2 years, and over the last 12 months we've had 2 community meetings with the residents in April last year that many of our councillors here of course attended, and it was great to see. And in my time on council, which is 4.5 years, I've never seen that happen in any other capacity. So obviously that speaks volumes, I think, to the seriousness of this issue. We've got 2,500 followers for business on Facebook that doesn't exist. And that's a really big indication of how much people are crying out for city activation in this area and, of course, city involvement in that space. We've got a Facebook page that has 1,800 followers dedicated to purely the development of Kelmscott. As you know, we've had a lot of calls and emails over the last few days about this very item. It's been the front page of the Examiner earlier in January this year that goes across citywide. And, of course, as mentioned, it was the focus of the Armidale Chamber of Commerce, where they've been working very closely with the businesses, trying to see what they can do in conjunction with the city, and as well as writing the open letter to us. So I don't know what else we can really do for us to not recognise that we really need to act and do something for the city, and this is one of those things that we can do, which I think would be a very positive step for us, the city strategically, across the board, signalling to our city that we take these concerns seriously, and of course we are very much mindful of the ongoing issues that the Kelmscott area has faced for a number of years now. So I would of course commend this particular recommendation for us to consider. I'm a little bit perplexed by some of Councillor Peter's comment that, and I agree, there's very much a lot of economic uncertainty, but then you go ahead and say, put the $1 million to Hilbert. So obviously we've got passion for our different areas, which is great. I think, and as previously been discussed, we know that there's millions of dollars going around to all the different areas of the city, and I think this is one area where we need to specifically focus to recognise that this has been somewhat neglected over the years. That is, of course, why I'm supporting this recommendation. I encourage our other councillors to consider voting likewise. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. Is there anyone to speak against the motion?
Hello.
Councillor Stoneham.
I'm not speaking against the motion. I agree entirely with Councillor Keogh that the city of the town of Kelmscott certainly needs revitalisation. I just have some concerns that we may not be able to put the trees in Albany Highway if we don't get Main Roads' agreement. So are we making a decision that we actually can't necessarily fulfil if that be the case? The Kelmscott Public Realm Strategy, I don't believe, has been endorsed fully by Council yet. Is that correct? I'm pretty sure. So that's my only concern. Is there any way of tweaking this to say subject to? Because I'm concerned that the community are going to believe that there's going to be $1.5 million worth of trees being rolled out along Albany Highway, and we genuinely might not be able to do that. And that concerns me. So I'm not opposed. I just would hope this could be massaged slightly to reflect that we would do our best to do it, but we can't promise.
Thank you, Councillor Stoneham. Anyone to speak for the recommendation? Councillor Newman.
Thank you very much, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to reiterate a number of the points that have already been made by councillors tonight. Kelmscott absolutely deserves this investment. This area has been completely degraded by various state government agencies, including Main Roads, Water Corporation and Metronet, who have ripped out the amenity of this region and arguably part of the soul of that precinct. Not only has the state government removed the amenity from this area, they have tied up the local council in so much red tape and regulation that we cannot even fix their mess. This motion goes towards rectifying as many of those issues as we possibly can while we build on the public realm program. The Kelmscott public realm is more than just Albany Highway. The idea that it is just Albany Highway and that we're just plonking a couple of trees in the middle of the road is absolutely ludicrous. The idea that we're going to spend millions of dollars on road traffic management is ludicrous. And I don't understand the opposition to this investment in our community. The muddying of the waters in this debate has been unhelpful, and I don't think that the community will completely understand why some councillors are intending to do that. Nonetheless, Kelmscott residents and Kelmscott businesses have been supporting other suburbs for years and years. And now it is time to make Kelmscott glorious again. Councillor Peter said that Kelmscott needs more advocacy. Well, here it is. We received so many emails over the last couple of days, so many phone calls from so many residents, not just in Kelmscott, but all across the city, from residents groups, from the Chamber of Commerce, all of these people begging us to do something about the public realm in Kelmscott. Here is our opportunity, and it's up to us to do something about it and to step forwards in that direction of improving the public realm in Kelmscott. This is our chance.
Thank you, Councillor Newman. Anyone to speak against the recommendation? Councillor Silva.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. Yes, there was so much going back and forth, so many different points, great, and it's really hard sometimes to figure out how to balance and to make your decision with that. So I tried to look at it at a different viewpoint this time. And for me, I think the issue for me was that this recommendation came without any hard, cold evidence. First of all, the realm strategy is not finished. Yes, it may have been discussed. I've been told it's been discussed by the consultants that this is it, but we still don't have the hard evidence. I want to look at this. I'm not looking at this like it's money in Kelmscott, and I'm not looking at it that other communities are missing out or whatever. I just don't think due process has been followed in this. As was advised by me for a $20,000 fountain earlier, we had to go through many times to go through the due process. So I have quite a few points that show we are making quite a rash decision without the follow-up. I just don't feel that I could say to residents, this is why I've made the decision to spend millions of dollars in this area in particular. So, well, not in the area, on this project in particular. So firstly, at this stage, there simply isn't enough information for us to make a fair and informed decision. For example, we don't even know the exact location along Albany Highway. I've not seen a map. I don't even know exactly what we're talking about, or how long for, or how many trees. There's been no formal confirmation from Main Roads, as Councillor Stoneham stated, as the landowner, and also the person who has degraded that area, that they would approve this infrastructure in this area. Without that, we risk supporting something that may not even be allowed and disappointing our residents further. I just wanted to reiterate again, I'm not saying we don't put this money here eventually. I just want to go through the correct process. We haven't been provided with a cost analysis, concept designs, or any visual representations. This makes it very difficult to assess value for money or understand the overall impact. Like Councillor Shanavaz said, there could be somewhere else in Kelmscott where it might be more effective. And exactly like Councillor Newman just pointed out, we seem to be just paying, again, for fixing the state government's problems and issues. how long can we do this? It's fundamentally the same issue in our areas. Our trees are all pulled down because developers are allowed by the state government to do so. So it's just the same argument. Not in my area, in any of the Greenfields area, or any development, even minor development in other parts of the city. Most importantly, the Kelmscott Road, like I said, has not been finalised. Approving funding now risks assuming the outcome of that strategy rather than being properly guided for it. Why have we paid consultants to do this realm strategy if we're just going to go ahead and prioritise what we want to prioritise? It just doesn't make sense, and it's a waste of money. We should have just got together, put our heads together and fought it out over who we thought was best. You know, and I'm not saying that this isn't, but I just want the due process to be done, and I want the proof. When we're allocating a significant amount of public funds, I don't feel comfortable doing so without clear, evidence-based information.
Thank you, Councillor.
Sorry.
Are you finished?
Yeah, well, I was just waiting. No, I'm waiting because I thought somebody was going to say something. This project wouldn't be scheduled until FY28, so there's no urgency to commit this funding right now. We have time to properly assess it and consider it through the long-term financial plan once the strategy is complete. Once the strategy on our reserve funds is also complete, which I think is really, I'm really looking forward to that, and I think it'll be really interesting. You know, we may not have to promise away funds we may not receive, or may need other places when we can look at our reserves. We don't know what's in there. We don't know what we can do with that. I just want a level, a balanced approach where we look at it all. Like we have done for the last 10 years I've been on council. There has been so many times I've sat in this chamber and been told, you need to go through due process, you need to be talking about this before. And for me, this just doesn't feel like due process. And we didn't have any part of this type of project recommended in the original recommendation from the staff, which I feel we should trust enough to know that they would bring this to our attention if it needed immediate money. Finally, we need to consider committing funds to a project without discussion around city's officers' ability to deliver such a project, and potentially limiting their ability to deliver other identified priorities across the city that we've all agreed upon. We also need to consider whole-of-life costs, including ongoing maintenance and operational impacts. We don't do that enough. We are so far behind on our asset management money. This would add more because we would eventually have to update it and upkeep it, so we need to really keep that in our forefront of our minds when we're making these decisions. These impacts have not been outlined, again, because the strategy hasn't been finalised and we don't have the detail needed to properly assess them. So for me, I'm taking out the area or what needs to be considered in specific projects. We need to look at this as across the board, and we need to get the realm strategy that we have paid for to be done. We've also got an Armidale realm strategy that's sitting there with no money allocated to it. And I guess some people in that area would argue that that area needs love and care and attention. But until we look at it, until we look at what the consultants are going to give us, how would we know? I also just wanted to address some points that I heard. I wanted to say that landscaping and buildings are majority funded by DCP. Now, we can't just sit there and say, oh, the developers pay for it all. Most of the time, they on-charge this 10, 20,000 in the price of the land. So you've already got residents potentially paying twice, or paying for it initially and in their rates. So I didn't want to bring up areas. I'm not saying that we should stick this in PR waters. I'm not saying in Hilbert, in Harrisdale. I just want to go back to the original recommendation. Also, I just feel it's very contradictory to have previous arguments saying, let's do the right thing, we have a fundamental process at this council that we do all the time, and we always respectfully follow it, and it's just not, I just couldn't sit there and confidently say to somebody that we've done due diligence in making this decision. I've always supported the urban forest strategy. I was actually one of the first councillors that was pushing for it. Thankfully, Dr. Willeng came on and put it into action. I want it across the city, and I am more than happy to put money into it because we look at the whole city. I'm not really comfortable with chucking it into a fund and then saying, yes, it's just for one area. That wasn't the vision of the group, of our Canopy group, and it wasn't the vision of the urban forest strategy at all. We're investing in certain programs and tree asset management to figure out what we've got and where we're needing it. I know Kelmscott is down, but at the end of the day, there are a lot of trees that are fundamental, like they're growing and they're aging up. I mean, some parts of the city just want opportunities to do that. So what my suggestion is that we go back, we do the right process, we look at the realm strategy. It's going to need money. Yes, it's going to be in Kelmscott, but we just need to look at it as a whole. For all we know, the consultants could have done 360, and this may not be feasible, especially if main roads don't let us, so there might be somewhere else in Kelmscott we can look at. And I also employed it to also remember a lot of the effect in Kelmscott has been from businesses closing down. It's not always something we can control. We've done many great things to support Kelmscott so far that we should also be proud of, and we should also be commending and recognising, even to the point where our staff are going out and helping businesses just in the staff time, which we can't really measure because it's just the staff helping businesses promote themselves or clean up little areas. There's lots of landscaping being done, and I'm all for that, but I'm just very cautious to be always fixing the state's problems. And if we're going to do that, hell, let's do it across the whole city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Silva. Is there anyone to speak for the recommendation? Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll be quick because I think a lot of what I wanted to say has been covered, but I think it's important to note, and we've mentioned it this evening, and Councillor Silva's also mentioned it this evening, that we are big supporters of listening to our residents' voices, and the residents have spoken really loudly this evening. And it may just be that we got our emails posted up online, but that was the avenue for them to go, I can now reach out and I can contact, and we need to be listening to them. Yes, I agree with Councillor Peter that there may be better options that we can get more value for our money. If we plant a whole lot of trees in a reserve somewhere, we're probably going to get more trees. There's no doubt about that. We don't have the information. We probably need to, at some point as well, temper the enthusiasm, I guess, to some degree of our residents, in that $1.5 million is not going to give us an amazing, beautifully tree-lined street with these huge, beautiful canopies. It is, again, like Councillor Jorgens said, 20 years ago would have been fantastic to plant all of those trees, and we would now have that. So we're not going to get that immediately. It is going to be a process. But what I want to also highlight is that to some degree, this isn't actually just about canopy. It's also about beautifying the area, and it's about bringing a sense of pride back to an area that has been really targeted and ripped bare. So we might not end up with this boulevard of beautiful big trees, but we need to show the support. We need to listen to our residents, and we need to bring a bit of sense of pride back to an amazing part of our community. And for that reason, I'll support this motion tonight.
Thank you, Councillor Hetherington. Anyone to speak against the motion? Anyone to speak for the motion? If not, I might just make a couple of points just to clarify what we're actually voting on tonight. So, I keep hearing that the entire amount will be going to the urban forest or trees in Kelmscott. I don't believe that's the case. So the $500,000 that has already been allocated to Kelmscott will be going to be spent on the public Kelmscott Public Realm Works. That strategy and the implementation of that strategy will be adopted well before 2027, and now we are saying that we want to spend the money to implement that strategy in Kelmscott as it was intended. We reserved the money some time ago, a couple of years ago, I think now. Now that the strategy is catching up with the works, allocating money towards it to make sure that it's spent in FY27 is not an unreasonable thing, given that we've already reserved the money some time ago. Part 2 of this recommendation suggests that we, out of the growth funds, not surplus as such, but growth funds, which have become realised, as the Executive Director has pointed out, through something that happened in 2025. So it's the last bite of this particular cherry, if you like. We understand that the community has felt an enormous amount of frustration over the main roads standards that say that you cannot plant a tree of a certain, width and size so that it will grow into something with canopy. those main road standards suggest that we cannot put back the canopy that was lost on our land, on main roads land, or on private property within that, I don't know, 10 metres or whatever it is of the roadway. That's a very frustrating thing for the community to get their head around. What we need to do is work out a way of getting trees into that area, and it is not in the centre of the road. And I noticed that it was mentioned previously that the trees would go into the centre of the road. I think that the idea is that they're either side of the Albany Highway, and we would be looking to put barriers so that they would be like crash barriers to protect drivers who veered off the road and would potentially crash into a tree. Just noting that along Albany Highway, the entire length of Albany Highway through Perth and out down to Albany has large trees either side of it, and they have no barriers. And we look at Gosnells and we see large trees within centimetres of the Albany Highway, and there are no barriers. However, we as Kelmscott, as the City of Armidale, Kelmscott as well as, are not allowed to plant another tree. So the rules have been changed, the goalposts have changed. Now we need to try and retrofit back. So we may not be able to plant on main roads property, but we can, if we can get this money through, investigate and plant on private property or on land managed by the city. So if we go to negotiate with a private landowner to plant a tree within 5 metres of the road and ask that we put a barrier there to allow it to be approved by Main Roads and comply to their standards, then this recommendation allows that to happen. So it's not all about planting on Main Roads land. It's about looking for opportunities throughout Kelmscott where we can put potential barriers and get canopy back and large trees back into the Kelmscott realm. So although one part of this recommendation suggests trees and hard infrastructure to protect those trees, the second part is public realm, so it could be on painting or public art, whatever. And as we don't have that strategy yet, and the implementation of that strategy, that will be coming to the city well before FY 2027. So I don't think it's premature of us to allocate, to put into a recommendation that we spend the 500 that we allocated to Kelmscott Public Realm years ago. We're now saying that there's built up so much momentum in the community that we need to get on with spending some of it. So I'm happy with both of those recommendations. I think it's probably a little bit unclear where it says the trees on Albany Highway. Maybe that word "on" has distracted from the fact that the trees will go either side of the highway. But I think we get the position that we're not planting them on the road, not on the roadway, not on the pavement, and probably not within the road, on the central reserves of the road at this stage. So with that, I will hand over to Dr. Wallinga to wrap up.
Thank you. There's been a lot said, so I won't cover everything. It'll get a bit confusing. I do want to correct that I was talking about the Kelmscott Public Realm Strategy workshop that was held, and we were told about the vision for Kelmscott, and it was about, regreening and it making it a more attractive place. We were told that there is an urban heat zone through the middle. We were given maps. We were shown exactly where the problem was. However, we were also told that because of main roads, they prefer a clear zone of 5 metres. It's not the regulation, though. That is a guideline. There is the Guide to Road Design Part 6 design, safety and barriers from Ausroad, the Ausroad standards, and they go through that enough. You can plant within that 5 metres if you put a barrier. So it's a negotiation process. We would ask our officers to negotiate and come up with ideas, obviously, with main roads. And it said in our notes from the workshop that it was acknowledged that some proposals would be costly to implement. And so I've been opportunistic. I've tried to find the funding that we're going to need before we need it. And I just thought that was a logical thing to do. It said that our next workshop between now and then, our officers will go away and come up with ideas and proposals, and if they now have some idea that there might be some money, maybe they could come up with ideas and proposals that hopefully our residents would actually appreciate more than a sedge on the side of the road, something frangible that a car could, you know, run over and that it would all be okay. I think we need to do these big jobs. It's a big job and it needs money. Big jobs need big money, and so I think that's why we need to do this. 2028 does give us time to plan. I'm not talking about a specific location that I'm saying it must go exactly here. I said a length of road, and the officers and engineers and everyone who's involved can look through and figure out what's best. And so, yeah, look, with that, I think I'm consistent. I'm often trying to find money for the community, either in buildings or in their parks or their verges, because that's our job. We're meant to be looking after our community.
Thanks, Councillor Willinga. With that debate being wrapped up, thank you everybody for your debate, and I will put it to the vote. We have the point 2 and point 3, and should this not succeed, we do have an alternate recommendation has been flagged by Councillor Peter if this one should fail. So I will put it to the vote. All those in favour of the current recommendation on the table? All those against? Thank you. And the recommendation has passed. Thank you everyone for your respectful debate. Could I now go to, I think it's point number 1. Can we do that one next? Do the next lot as a package? Okay. So we've got the rest of the recommendation. So point 1. And do the words all still match? Yeah. Yep. Okay. 8 and 9 and 10. So those as a package, you're happy to move those?
Yeah.
Councillor Peter, thank you very much. Councillor Peter has moved the remainder of that recommendation. Is there anyone opposed? No one opposed, thank you, that's carried. Whew. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll now move to page 91, 2.2, review of Code of Conduct for Council members, committee members and candidates. Interesting that candidates are included in this because often they don't comply. So the recommendation comes on page 96 and an absolute majority has been, needs to be reached. So I'll ask if the Deputy Chair is prepared to move.
Yeah, I move, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you. An absolute majority has been achieved. We now move on to the next piece, which is 2.3, Response to Walga Sector Consultation, Electoral Reform Discussion Paper. Councillor Peter, you're on your feet.
Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to move an amendment to the current recommendation. That is the election cycle. That is on the attachment, page 245. Sorry, I forgot to send that email to the CEO. The question number 1, does the local government support half-spill election every 2 years or full spill election for every 4 years? Our recommendation was to a half-year election, every 2-year election, but I would like to move it as a full spill election for every 4 years. So I would like to move the recommendation with the amended attachment.
Okay, thank you. Right, have we got any wording for that? Just while we're getting that prepared, for members of the community that are sitting patiently, if you've got somewhere else to be and you're not interested in the rest of the agenda, don't feel that we will feel bad if you now leave. But if you'd like to stay, you're perfectly welcome to. Thank you for coming along tonight. Okay, councillors, we do have the recommendation on the screen. Can I ask if anyone is opposed? Okay, I wasn't quite sure. I think it was you, Councillor Jorgensen. Sorry, Councillor Silva, was it? Oh, yeah. Councillor Jorgensen, I think I saw you first. If you're opposed, do I have a seconder for the motion? Councillor Keogh is seconding. Councillor Peter, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, the state government is planning to change the election cycle. I think that is a reasonable reason to change it because it's not interact with the other state and federal elections. And also each election, the city will cost nearly $350,000 to $400,000. And if we have an election once in 4 years' time, potentially be saving the time, and also it won't affect any other election cycle. I think that is a good opportunity now to support the 4-year election is aligned with the state government election pattern. That is the reason I am moving this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. Councillor Keogh, would you like to speak to it?
Thank you, Mayor. I'm not primarily for this due to the economics. I'm always happy to spend money when it comes to an election. I think they're very important, so whatever it be, that's the cost. But my main reason for being in support of this change to the amendment is that my understanding is that our Walga zone adopted this as the policy, or most councils perhaps agreed that this should be the position. We're of course welcome to do whatever we want being our own council, but I also agree with that point of view that we should also have a full spill every 4 years. I think it overall would be beneficial for our community, and I also suspect that this could very well be, I'm not obviously, I have no idea, but I suspect in line where we had of course the local council laws change where we have a mayor popularly elected, we have of course preferential voting now, and councils of course were consulted in this kind of fashion as well, and of course we had a bit of an argument in terms of what we would land on with that, and ultimately we had a decision, but I think regardless of what we decide here, obviously it's going to be the state government's call, and I think that they will ultimately go for this as well, so I don't think there's any point in trying to argue it if it's going to be something that comes through. But I think also it is actually a good policy to have, considering that that is the case for both state and federal and many other councils across the country as well. So I think it's worthwhile where we can maintain some consistency across the board to allow it easier for our ratepayers and residents and citizens to participate in the process where there's a lot of commonality and consistency, and allowing for greater participation overall as well.
Thank you, Councillor Keogh. Councillor Jorgensen.
Might have been a little bit preemptive with putting the hands up without notes to speak for. But just quickly from my own experience, and we're only, 6-7 months in since the last election, I think it is probably worth, or definitely worth actually, keeping the 2-year cadence here to make sure that we keep this at least half full pool of knowledge for people that are sitting on council. I know, speaking from Councillor Keogh and Councillor Smith and many of the others, I I still don't know what I'm doing half the time, but at least I have some idea from having that experience on board with me. The other part that I would think is that since the local government is the most direct contact with members of the public, doing it every 2 years means that those members of the public, if they're not happy, at least feel like they can have some sort of say more often than every 4 years or whenever the feds decide to do one of their elections, that things actually get changed, and things they can actually affect and deal with every single day. So.
Thank you, Councillor Jorgensen. Do we have anyone to speak for the motion? Anyone to speak against the motion? I saw lots of hands before. Councillor Busby.
Yeah, just going to be quick. Like Councillor Jorgensen, didn't really come prepared for this, didn't think this would happen, but, you know, local government, state and federal, we're nothing alike. We are nothing alike at all. Most state and federal politicians, when they're running as parties, they're running with teams, they are full-time when they get in, they have staff when they get in, and they don't even have to necessarily live in their own area or understand their own area when they get in. So this is not the same. For a whole government to be wiped out and replaced, you know, the continuity of the government tends to go on pretty clearly because of the staff, the employment, the management, the size of the government as a whole. Whereas with local government, you know, we are hands-on. We live in the area. We're not full-time. We're hands-on with our community, and you can hear that today, how hands-on we are. You know, we're talking about water fountains. You're not going to get that, you know, generally in state and federal to that degree. We live in the community. You know, we live in our areas. You know, we understand what's going on, and I'm always nervous. You know, I think this is going to happen, but we actually stand against things like this all the time. We don't always agree with what the state or federal government are going to do that's going to affect us. We do what we believe is going to be best for our community. And I'm always nervous that if we have a full spill and all of a sudden people start running in parties or in large groups, we potentially could lose that hands-on thing, and people with money and advertising capacity all of a sudden could take over local government. I'm not for that. That's much harder to do on a 2-year election where we're only using one. And so I will never support that. If it happens and we work around it. But while we have an opportunity to say what we believe is best for our local government where we live, 4 years is not it. Every 2 years works, and it's always worked, and it's worked really well for this council. Can't speak for other councils, but it's really worked well here, so I can't support that.
Thank you, Councillor Busby. Anyone to speak for the motion? Anyone against? I might just say a few words then. And it's along the lines of, this is a really interesting one. Ultimately, we're not the final decision makers, and it may well be that the government changes the position that is now, that we find ourselves in, being able to have 2 years and then 2 years. That said, Walga is trying to represent the zone's wishes, so, the whole of local government's wishes. So they've gone out, they've gone ahead of the consultation from a consultation paper from the government coming out. The government will also be doing consultation on this. Walga is trying to advocate on behalf of the sector, and they want to know what the sector thinks now. Putting aside what the government is going to do, they want to know how it suits the sector. Are we comfortable with the way that it's been running, or would we like, are we uncomfortable with it and we think it's a waste of money? Now, on the night at committee, CEO stated that there wouldn't be necessarily a large financial saving through going to only doing it every 4 years. And I know that that was one of the biggest reasons why our zone voted to support going for 4-year terms in the initial consultation and advocacy work. They supported that with the idea that it would save the whole of one of those elections. So you would cut out one election, so you save 100% of that election every 2 years. That's, speaking to the CEO, I'm not going to put words in her mouth, but she did say that that would likely not be the case, and that the 4-year election would likely cost more than it does right now. It's a 2-year election. The support from our zone also came with a caveat of that they wanted to have compulsory voting associated with 4-year turnover. So if we are going to say that we support 4-year elections, so all in, all out, then perhaps we should think about that also, that we support compulsory compulsory voting, which I think we've already agreed to. So if we want Walga to know what we think, then we should vote on what we want Walga to advocate on our behalf. But if we want to just go with what we think the government's going to do, we can change it right now. So up to councillors. Councillor Peter.
Yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the main argument is we may lose the experienced councillor if we have a 2-year election, if we have a better system. I think that is not the case. My previous colleague, Councilman, he was the councillor nearly 32 years. So if you're doing a good job for the community, for example, Councillor Busby is a councillor for 12 years. Councillor Smith, I think, is 10, 11, 12 years. So if you're doing a... 16, yeah, okay, 16, yeah, that's correct. Yeah, the classic example is here now. So if you're doing a good thing for the community, the people will re-elect you. So we don't going to lose anything. And also, Madam Chair, the cost is not only for the election process. When the election call, we move to the election mode. Sometimes we need to freeze all our activities, so that will cost a lot of us. If we have a continuous 4-year cycle, we can plan and we can do everything. It's not only cost for the election, it is for we may at least 3 months time, we in a post mode, we can't do anything much on it because it's an election time. So that is the reason I am suggesting a 4-year election time. We are not going to lose our experienced councillors, they will be here, and also be saving time, and we can save the officers' time, election costs, all the way. And I think my understanding, the other council is also supporting 4-year election cycle and also compulsory voting. With that point, I request everybody in support to support my current amended motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Peter. I will put Councillor Peter's amendment to the whole motion, but with that amendment right now to the meeting. All those in favour of changing our position to supporting 4-year terms, raise your hand. Thank you. And all those against? Thank you. That's lost. So I'll ask if somebody was willing to...
happy to move the original motion.
Okay. Thank
Madam
you,
Mayor.
Councillor. Councillor Busby has moved the original. Is there anyone opposed? No one opposed. Thank you. That's carried. Page 101, 3.1, deed of variation number 3, Kwinana Waste to Energy Supply Agreement, confidential cover report. Does anyone need to go to the confidential report, or can we deal with the matter under this cover page? Does anyone need to go to the confidential report? Nope. Okay. So we've got the recommendation there on page 103. And that brings us to the end of those items. Could I have Deputy Chair move all the items that haven't already been dealt with? Thank you. Is there anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Thank you. That's carried. One more hurdle to get over. Oh, well, maybe a few. But Chief Executive Officer's report. Could I ask we receive that? Councillor Peter, thank you, has moved that we receive that report. Is there anyone opposed? No one's opposed. Thank you. That's carried. We have but one item on 106, 1.1 Councillors' Information Bulletin, number 4 of 2026. Could I ask that somebody move receipt of that? Councillor Busby, Thank you very much. Is there anyone opposed? If no one's opposed, thank you, that's carried. We'll go back to the start of the agenda, and we are on to motions of which previous notice have been given. There aren't any. Urgent business approved by the person or presiding. There isn't any. Matters for referral to standing committees without discussion. Are there any matters for referral to standing committees? Councillor Stoneham.
Yes, if I could please refer to tech services, consideration of angled parking along Rayburn Road between Brooks Road and Heath Road. And could I also refer to community services options for Pride Week 2026?
Thank you. Councillor Stoneham, is there any other matters for referral? Councillor Sargison, you got Lylon.
Thank you. To the CEO's office, review the $5,000 cost associated with councillor training. And the second one is the councillors do the Walgett Training CEO performance review prior to the CEO review.
They would both be corporate services, but we'll sort that out. Thank you. Councillor Singh.
Councillor refer item to technical service to reducing the speed on the Esprit Promenade. How to reduce the speed? Example, humps. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor Peter.
Yeah, the best shelter to the near to the Wong Kong Primary School to the Technical Service Committee.
Thank you. I imagine that you're all going to rush over with your words now to the Minutes Secretary, because we have no idea what, because they were a bit poorly formed.
I can go slower. I'd like to go to development services.
Yes.
For the policy of TPOs, you know, and how many we've got, where they are, what the policy is, but that's not urgent, but it'd be good to do it.
Thank you. Councillors, can we just have one person with their mic on talking, please? Are there any further matters for referral? If not, we'll go to matters requiring confidential consideration, which we don't have any. Thank you very much, everybody. That was a marathon, and I think we have deserved some water, perhaps some lovely water. Thank you very much, everyone.